Good morning and thank you. Thanks all of you. I'm excited to be here for the Statewide Economic Development Summit, and I'm honored to share the platform today with the speakers who are going to come after me, and I know they're going to be exciting and you're going to enjoy what they have to tell you. Folks from CenturyLink and Sasol and DXC Technologies. I want to thank Jody and all the folks at Energy for sponsoring, being the main sponsor of this event, and all the regional economic development organizations, and certainly BRAC for hosting. But really thank all of you for what you do every single day. And you come from all across the spectrum here in Louisiana. Some of you are public sector employees, some of you involved in higher education, industry, economic development. And it really does take all of us working together to make sure we're moving Louisiana forward. And so before Secretary Pearson brings on that distinguished panel, I just want to take a few minutes to tell you that we are moving forward. We're getting stronger every single day, and we've got a lot of momentum right now about our growing economy, our improving jobs picture, but we do have some hurdles that we have to overcome. And I'm confident that we're going to do that, and when we do, we're going to be positioned for success like we haven't seen in Louisiana in a very long time. You know, I find it hard to believe that this is actually the third time I've done this summit. I've just been governor for a little over 2 years now, but it is a pleasure because this puts me in touch with people from all over Louisiana in the same room, all committed to our great state and to increasing opportunity here for all of our young people. I recently met with the Louisiana Municipal Association, among many other statewide groups that I interact with regularly. And last fall, I traveled the state talking to businessmen and businesswomen in every region of our state, local elected officials. In fact, I had over 30 meetings like that, talking about what's going on in Louisiana, but more importantly, listening, because I find that that's a lost art in our country today. We like to talk, we don't like to listen, but we can learn an awful lot by listening to one another, and always appreciate getting good ideas and feedback and input. Because of the personal efforts of everybody in this room, from utilities to elected officials to economic developers, business leaders, state employees, Louisiana is in fact experiencing a surge of momentum today. 2 years ago when I addressed you, Louisiana had over 132,000 unemployed people. Today we have 45,000 fewer unemployed. The unemployment rate then, 2 years ago was 6.2%. Today, it is 4.6%. That is the lowest in 10 years. That is the lowest unemployment rate in 10 years. As we look across Louisiana, we see even more signs of optimism and progress. Reasons in every region of our state why we can look forward to even more progress in the years to come. In 2017, our specific economic development efforts netted 7,714 retained jobs at existing businesses and 13,138 new direct and indirect jobs at expanding businesses and businesses relocating to Louisiana. These 43 project wins netted $4.66 billion in capital investment. And the really exciting news is this is happening all across the state of Louisiana, every single region. This economic development success is why Louisiana's unemployment rate is at its lowest level in a decade. You know, only 15 months ago, I joined Larry Pryor and Ashley Rocket and our elected officials and civic leaders in Northwest Louisiana for the grand opening of CSRA's Integrated Technology Center. Today, not only are they approaching full employment, 800 employees, there's good reason to believe that CSRA, through planned growth and new projects, will actually reach 1,000 jobs at the National Cyber Research Park and the second facility in Bossier City. 1,000 jobs in the Shreveport-Bossier metro area that did not exist just a few years ago. While we recruit new employers, we also know there's nothing more important than helping our existing employers remain competitive. So in West Monroe and Monroe, We worked last year with Ouachita Parish in both cities to retain more than 800 high-paying manufacturing jobs with Graphic Packaging International. To give them a competitive edge, we supported their partnership with global logistics leader DHL, who will bring nearly 100 new jobs of its own to a joint 1.27 million square feet, or square foot, however you're supposed to say that, manufacturing facility. I want y'all to think about that. 1.27 million square feet. And by the way, that's going to be the most efficient manufacturing facility of its type anywhere in the world, and it's going to be right there in Ouachita Parish. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is the size of 10 super Walmarts. Think about that. That is serious progress for Northeast Louisiana. In Central Louisiana, Plastic Pack continues to build on the strength of its partnership with Procter & Gamble through a new $9 million expansion, bringing 53 new direct and indirect jobs. And Cleco is modernizing its entire technology and customer platform with a $130 million conversion project. And as they announced just a couple of weeks ago, they're actually buying some electric plants in that region as well. In Southwest Louisiana, 3 projects alone, just these 3, Cheniere Energy, Sasol, and Cameron LNG, are nearing the completion of over $40 billion. You heard that right, $40 billion with a B, in new capital investment that will yield thousands of new permanent jobs after having generated tens of thousands of construction jobs. And those types of projects continue in Southwest Louisiana. To show the power load for much of this growth, Entergy recently broke ground on a nearly $900 million electricity generation plant, one that mirrors a similar $900 million power plant under construction right now in St. Charles Parish. So Entergy, thank you very much for your investment in Louisiana. In Acadiana, CGI's IT Services Delivery Center at the University of Louisiana Lafayette. When I see him play sports, it just says Louisiana these days, but at ULL, the Research Park, that is another great success story. That site is reaching full employment of 400 technology professionals, and it is ahead of schedule in the creation of those jobs. LHC Group in Lafayette, following its pending acquisition of Kentucky-based Almost Family, plans to create another 500 corporate headquarters jobs right there in Lafayette. We could not be prouder of our staunch oil and gas exploration, production, and service companies as they battle back from a challenging global slump. And we actually have lots of activity now all across Louisiana with leases, with exploration and resuming production of natural gas, but also oil, if you look at the Austin Chalk, but also along the Louisiana coast and in the Bayou region. We are seeing a resurgence in shipbuilding. For example, in Lockport, Bollinger Shipyards has produced dozens of Coast Guard fast response cutters and is now embarking on a new order for 26 more of these state-of-the-art 154-foot vessels. By the way, Bollinger has a major multi-year contract with the Coast Guard for cutters that is helping to retain 500 jobs in the Bayou region. At Port Fourchon, Energy World has announced plans to develop a more than $800 million LNG facility, helping expand the LNG industry from Southwest Louisiana across the coast to Southeast Louisiana. And here in the Capital Region, our recent project announcements have included an $85 million proton therapy center for cancer treatment and chemical manufacturing announcements by BASF and Westlake Chemical, each in the range of $150 million or more. In the Southeast region, anchored by New Orleans, we've seen a corporate headquarters expansion by Global Star, which will be moving into its new 60,000 square foot building in the next year. The company recently announced annual sales have reached $112 million, and the company employs 200 people in Louisiana already. We worked with UNO and LED Fast Start to create a software engineering apprentice program. They call it SWEEP for short, to help GE Digital hire and train 300 highly paid professionals in the New Orleans Central Business District. And now we're embarking on a statewide $25 million higher education initiative to help deliver 2,000 new direct jobs to DXC Technologies, Digital Transformation Center in New Orleans, right there on Poydras Street in the Freeport-McMoran building. Now there's another 2,200 indirect jobs associated with that. The single biggest economic development win in our state's history when you look at permanent direct jobs at one site, and the second biggest economic development win anywhere in the country in 2017. And it's happening in New Orleans, Louisiana. And New Orleans beat out 30 other cities. And I will tell you that the competitive edge that they had was our workforce development programs here in Louisiana, led by our higher education professionals. People like Monty Sullivan, who is here, and if we have other system presidents, I apologize. I just haven't seen you this morning, but they're doing a great job making sure they inspire confidence in employers that if they will invest in Louisiana, we will make sure they have the trained, educated, skilled employees they need for success. That's why I'm convinced the key to our continued economic development, growth, job creation, investment is workforce development. I'm also incredibly proud of this past year when Thumbtack gave Louisiana an A+ for our support of small businesses and ranked us 4th in the nation for our small business friendly environment. And certainly we're planning to do even more. And so you can see that we have a tremendous amount of momentum in Louisiana. We need to keep it going. And there's some things that we're planning to do in the regular session that we believe will be helpful. That starts on March the 12th. For example, I've asked every secretary within my cabinet to find ways to reduce red tape and provide regulatory relief to businesses big and small. And you're going to see several measures during the session to fast-track permitting processes, streamline licensing requirements, and create a more business-friendly climate. Louisiana ranks in the top 10, according to the Institute for Justice, for the highest number and the worst burden of occupational licensing requirements. For example, we are the only state in the country that licenses florists. I think we can change that. And not just with respect to florists, we need to take a look at all of those licenses and make sure that we aren't doing things today just because we started doing them 50 and 60 years ago. We will create a small business advisory council within the Louisiana Economic Development to cultivate small business competitiveness and strengthen entrepreneurship throughout the state. But before we can get to the regular session, we really need to wrap up successfully the ongoing special session. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and why it's so important that we fix our cliff. And first I want to make sure you understand what the cliff is. 2 years ago, when we came into office facing the largest budget deficit in the state's history, which was over $2 billion for the first full fiscal year, part of the response was to raise revenue. Practically all of the revenue that was raised was temporary, and it was sunset after 27 months. Well, the 27 months expires on June 30th. And on that day, $1.38 billion worth of revenue falls off the books. I want to keep $994 million of that $1.38 billion to stabilize our state. That $994 million represents the difference in the general fund forecast for this year and next fiscal year. So we are trying to hold the line. We're able to reduce the amount that we are asking for because we have made strategic cuts, significant cuts, but we've also created savings, principally through the Medicaid expansion program, but also it's that momentum I was talking to you about. We're actually doing better on our revenue forecast because the economy is doing better. More people are working, making more money, and that's the way it's supposed to happen. But that's what that $994 million represents. And I believe we have an opportunity. We actually have an obligation to get it fixed. We should do it in February because I will tell you, I don't believe there is any way to fashion a budget that will pass in the regular session that starts March the 12th without that $994 million. And so between now and when we get it fixed, if we don't fix it in February, we're going to have an awful lot of unneeded pain, turbulence, and disruption in the state of Louisiana, as no state agency is going to know what its budget is. We won't know whether we're going to be able to support higher education like we are today, which, by the way, for the first time in 9 years, we funded higher education without a cut from the previous year and fully funded the TOPS program. That's the key to success. That's why we got DXE Technologies. That's why we're inspiring confidence in people from all over the country. We have to continue on this road. The road we were on before, where we led the nation in cuts to higher education for 8 years, is exactly the wrong road to be on, and we know that now. And we should not go anywhere near it. But that means we have to fix the cliff. And we can do it in a way that produces stability and predictability and fairness through tax reform. I am absolutely open to compromise. I am pushing compromise. By definition, it is hard because you have to accept something that you don't like in exchange for getting some things that you do like. I'm working very hard with the leadership at the legislature, trying to get this progress across the goal line, and I will tell you it will benefit all of us in this room to do that, and do so in a way that is permanent. You know, the credit rating agencies are looking at us and they're saying, you're not exactly inspiring confidence when you do something for 2 years at a time or 3 years at a time. We need to know that you're credit worthy. And so we have to summon the courage to do what is hard, but what is necessary. And if we will do that and then kind of get out of our own way, you're going to see Louisiana enter into an era of prosperity like we haven't seen in a long time. I'm excited about our future, and I believe we're going to get it done. But we shouldn't wait till the end of June, when we then will have 3 weeks to fix the budget, pass these tax reforms that we're talking about, and do a capital outlay bill. That is the surest way to not get it right, is to have to do it, all of that, so quickly, which is why we're in the special session that we are in today. And look, you've heard me talk about higher education and TOPS. Those are incredibly important for our future for the reasons that I mentioned. But right now, our ability to do the most basic, essential things that you expect of your government is in jeopardy. Whether it's running hospitals or medical schools, Medicaid services, people who are on waivers, housing inmates, taking care of foster children. I mean, all of that is up in the air. Now, I believe because all of that is up in the air that we're going to get it done. But we need to do it now. There will not be any options that we can consider in June that we don't have available to us today. The problem won't be any different or any better in June than it is today. And this idea that we just keep kicking things down the road is not serving us well. So we can certainly do better. I'm asking you all to help. I'm asking you to help with your direct involvement. And yes, because I'm a person who believes in the awesome power of prayer, I'm asking you to pray for our state and for our country, really, and for leaders at all levels, that we do come together and better serve the people that we're elected to serve. And that we do so in a way that never forgets the least among us. Matthew 25 isn't something we should consider once a year when that happens to be the gospel reading at church. We ought to fashion a budget that takes care of the needs, the essential needs of the least among us. We can do that. We will do that. But I would ask for your involvement. I would ask for your help. And as I mentioned a while ago, I would ask for your prayers. Before I complete my remarks this morning, I want to again thank you for everything that you do to contribute to our state. We all have as our mission to leave this state better than we found it, for our kids and for our grandkids. And some of you may have heard me say this before, but it motivates me every single day to get out of bed and work as hard as I can as governor. And it is the principal reason that I ran. If we have young people in our state who decide that they want to leave our state to explore some opportunity to get an education, to find a job or have a rewarding career, we should wish them well and hope they come back someday. But if our kids and grandkids believe they have to leave Louisiana to get a good education, to find a decent job, or to have a rewarding career, we have failed them. I refuse to fail our kids. I simply refuse. That is not an option. That is why we have to get this fixed. And while I'm thanking you for what you're doing, I also want to thank Don Pearson and the team at LED. They do a tremendous job every single day, making sure that we are out there effectively competing and winning. And that's only going to get better in the years to come when we do better as a state. So God bless you, and God bless the state of Louisiana. Thank you.